Kuftet, the 109th chapter of the book of Tehillim, Lamnatzech l'David Mizmor Elohei Tehilati Al Techarash. So David offers a psalm to be conducted with music and says to God, don't stay far away. Don't be cheresh, right? Don't remain far away from you. You have to act. Listen to my voice. Ki pi rasha ufi mirma alai patachu. Dibru iti lishon shaker. Why do I need you to act, God? Why can you not remain far away? Why can you not be cheresh? Because the wicked, the deceitful, they open their mouths against me. They speak to me with lies. V'divrei sin'ah sivavuni, v'yilchamuni chinam. They encircle me with, right, l'savev. They encircle me with hatred, with words of hate. They attack me for no reason, chinam, for no reason, there's nothing that shouldn't be done. Tachat ahavati yistenuni va'ani tefillah. They answer my love with accusation, and I must stand va'ani tefillah. So, right, the different ways of understanding va'ani tefillah. I am prayer, but tefillah comes from the root word of tefillah. Mitpalel is from the word for judgment. So it's like, because we're standing in judgment before God, in a sense, when we pray. So here, right, understanding va'ani tefillah, all I'm doing is praying to you, God. That's what I'm doing to counter their accusations of hatred against me, or I stand in judgment. Everybody thinks that I am guilty. Vayasimu alai, we're in verse 5, Ra'ah tachat tova, v'sin'ah tachat ahavati. Repeating what he said in the last verse, they repay me with evil for good, with hatred for my love. So we see it's a difficult thing. We've seen this before. David feels like a victim. He's tried to be good. He's tried to reach out to people, but it doesn't happen. When we think about his life and maybe his attempts to become king following the death of Shaul and Yonatan, where he knows he's going to become king. Shmuel has already said it to him years earlier from God. And but when he's trying to become king of all of Israel, he's trying to do it peacefully. He's trying to do it without war. And a war begins really between his general Yoav and with Avner ben Ner representing the northern kingdom, who was the power. Even the king was Ishbosheth. So maybe you could see it reflecting a time in his life like this, where he's just trying to peacefully assume the throne. He's already king of Yehuda, but war is breaking out, and he's trying to do it in a way of kindness, in a way of decency. And if it's going to be take a little bit more time, that's okay. But war is raging, and he can't seem to control it. So it's not exactly what it's talking about here, but I think it's interesting to think about from that a part of his life. Let's continue in verse 6, pasuk vav. Hafkeda lav rasha v'satan ya'amod al yamino. Appoint a wicked man over him, and may an accuser stand at his right side. We, of course, the word Satan, the Satan, and think of 21st century, 20th century culture of what the Satan looks like. The Satan in the Tanakh is not a independent it's not an independent evil sort of thing as it's represented. It means a sort of a prosecutor. It's the prosecutor that stands in front of God in judgment and prosecutes the wicked, or sometimes even attempts to prosecute the righteous, as we will be told in the book of Eov. Continuing in verse 7, Bihi shafto yetze rasha utfilato tiel lachata'a. He will be tried and convicted. He will be judged, and he will be found to be a chata'a, a sinner. There we see as well that word tfilato is prayer. Maybe he's praying, he's so bad, but even so, he's going to be found to be a sinner, even with all of his prayers. But again, see in this chapter that word tefillah, which we, of course, davening, praying, but it's rooted in the idea of judgment. Yihiyu yamav me'atim pekudato yikach acher. May his days be few. May another take his place. Yehu vanav yitomim v'ishto almana. Not something that's a nice thing to say, but may his children be orphans, his wife a widow. Of course, any time, this is what happens. There are ramifications of of evil, and David must have felt very, very threatened and really by what was going on here, because you don't really wish somebody death. You don't really wish them that their kids will be orphans and their wives widows. It's a very harsh thing to say, and it's a harsh thing to say. It's a difficult thing to consider. But this must have been some sort of evil that needs to be done. Interestingly, midrashically, I talked about one part of David's life. There are others who see this as sort of a tefillah and words that David says at the end of his life to his son Shlomo. Shlomo, in the last chapter before David dies, he instructs Shlomo about what he should do, and it almost seems kind of mafioso. He's basically telling Shlomo, if you want shalom, if you want peace, if you want to rule the kingdom without struggles and without problems, and David knows that his son is going to build the Beit HaMikdash, so it needs to be a time period of peace and prosperity, then these are the people you need to take care of, right? These are the people who can't live long lives. You are a wise man, Shlomo, and you'll know how to do it. But you got to sometimes sur me'ra. You sometimes have to eliminate the evil before really, truly a prosperous and a beautiful society and a moral society can be built. So you can read this chapter also from that perspective and at that point in the end of David's life. Let's continue in verse 10. Pasuk Yud, a lot of verses to read. V'noah yanu uvanav v'shielu v'darshu. May his children wander from their hovels, begging in search of bread. Yinakesh noshe lechol asher lo v'yavozu zarim yigio. May his creditors seize all his possessions. May strangers plunder his wealth. Al yihi lo moshe chased va'al yihi chonein litomav. May no one show him mercy. May no pity. Nobody should pity his orphans. In verse 13, yihi achritod lehachrit. Bedor acher yimach shema. May his posterity be cut off. May their names be blotted out in the next generation. They're talking about something that's very, very evil, and you have to destroy it completely. It needs to be blotted out. It needs to be erased. And if it is not fully erased and it remains potent and it remains a powerful idea, then it grows. And we saw this, in fact, in the life of Shlomo, where Shlomo has people who are upset at him in the northern kingdom, and Yeravam ben Nevat is one of them, and Yeravam runs away. But after Shlomo dies, Yeravam comes back, and the complaints that the people have against Shlomo, which are legitimate, during the lifetime of his son, ends up causing the civil. It doesn't end up being a civil war, but the separation of the kingdom of Israel into two kingdoms: the kingdom of Yehuda, the kingdom of Yisrael. I'm not implying that Yeravam was evil in this way at that point of his life. God had chosen him to be king over Israel. But sometimes if an idea is allowed to fester, as we all know, it continues to grow and grow and grow. Continuing in verse 14, may God be forever mindful of his father's sins, and may the sin of his mother not be blotted out. May God be aware of them always, right? God should have their eyes on these evil people so they can't start again with their evil, and cause their names to be cut off from the earth. So here David identifies it's not just people who are cruel to him and mean to him, but there is more to these people. These are people who act with no kindness, who chase after the poor and the needy. And this is not like a couple of weeks ago in Parshat Shoftim where we said, Tzedek, Tzedek, Tirdof. This is not running after righteousness. This is running after to take advantage, to crush the spirit, to steal the last penny from the poor and the needy. Vaye'ehav, we're in verse 17, Pasuk Yud Zayin, Kilala, Vativo'ehu, V'lo chafetz bivracha, v'terchak mimenu. He loves to curse. May a curse be placed upon him. Sounds very Yiddish. He would not offer blessings, so blessings should remain far away from him. And in fact, may be clothed like a curse, right? His garment should be like a curse, and may it enter his body like water, his bones like oil. Tilo kibeged yate the ule mezach, tamid yach gereha. Let it be like a garment, again, a beged that wraps around him. He's going to be fully encircled. David earlier in the chapter talked about how they had encircled him with evil and with the lies, and now he wants these people to be encircled, their cloak that wraps around him. Right, the curses should be all over them. Zot pu'ulat sotnai me'et Adonai v'hadovrim ra al nafshi. May God repay my accusers and all the people who speak bad about me. And this is the sort of the end of this part of the psalm. It's sad. It has a lot of anger to it. It's a difficult psalm to read in that way, to see sort of the anger. We understand some of it. It's not just about being bitter and angry. It's about getting rid of wickedness in order to allow kindness and goodness and morality to reign instead. But it's there's some harshness there. It's impossible to say otherwise. Continuing pasuk chaf al. V'ata Adonai Elohim aseh iti leman shmecha utov chastecha hatzilenu. So now God, act on my behalf as your name, as your greatness should be. Be good to me. Be kind to me. Be faithful to me. Hatzileni, save me. Ki ani ve'evyon anochi v'libi chalal b'kirbi. Because I am poor. I am needy, and my heart is sort of is empty. It's halal. It's been cut open by all of the evil that has happened to me. It's hard to read this as being referring specifically to David as a poor person, and so some of the commentaries talk about how he was. Right, he was begalut. If you want to think of this as maybe the time when he was running away from Shaul, so he's in exile, and somebody who's in exile and is sent away from their home, gives up that aspect of their life and is not the person who they are, and so can understand it through that way. Kitzel kintoto nehelachti ninarti ka'arbe. I fade away like a shadow, lengthening shadow, right? That you're getting further and further away from until I am shaken off like locusts. Birkai kashlu mitzom uvisari kachash mishamen. My berkayim, my knees give away from fasting, right? I'm falling on the ground. My flesh is lean. It has lost its fat. Va'ani hayiti cherpa lahem yiruni yiniun rosham. I am, I'm a cherpa. I'm an embarrassment. I'm a busha. I'm scorned. I'm the byword for everything that's bad. When they see me, they shake their head in embarrassment. Look at that guy. Ezreini Adonai Elohai Hoshieni Kichasdecha, or in verse 26, pasuk Chafav. So help me, God. Save me through your kindness, through your faithfulness. V'yedu ki yad chazot ata Adonai asita. And what will everybody know? All of these evil people, they'll know it is from you, that you were the one who came and saved me. Yekalalu hema v'ata tivarech kamu v'yevoshu v'avdecha yismach. Let them curse, but you should offer blessings. Let them rise up and come to grief, while avdecha, that would be me, your servant, is sameach, rejoices. Yilbeshu sotnai klima. My accuser shall be clothed in shame, coming back to that same image of the beged, of the clothing that covers them, wrapped in their disgrace as in a robe. I will sing thanksgiving. We talked 2 Psalms ago, 107, a psalm all about thanksgiving and offering praise, and the Birkat HaGomel that's taken from it. My mouth will sing the praise to God, and I will proclaim him in public. Also back in 107 and many times before. Why? Because he stands on the right side of the needy, and he saves those. He saves the needy, he saves the Evyon from the people who would judge the Evyon harshly. And so we have a psalm. It's an interesting one, the way it comes back and forth, and with a little bit of harshness in the middle. And again, relating it to possible times in the life of David, different time periods, when he's running away, when he's at the end of his life, when he's trying to become king peacefully, but there's war is happening. And one thing also to think about, the end, all the images of the garments, of the cloaks, of the bigadim, which we don't have so much in Tehillim. We have times where it talks about God's garments back in, I believe, chapter 29. But we think about garments during that period, the symbolism of garments, the cloak, the coat that was worn by Shmuel that his mother made for him, and when she would come back to visit him in Shiloh, which was a pretty corrupt society, she would fix his coat and bring him a new one, and that was almost like protection to him, and the cloak and the clothing that represents leadership and royalty, the cloak that's pulled off of Shaul, and later 10 pieces are divided and given to Yeravam, because he's going to be the leader of these of 10 tribes. And right, David's grandson Rechavam is only going to have 2 down there in the southern kingdom, and so clothing can represent leadership. And so the idea is, maybe they have this clothing, they have these leadership positions, they're the ones who's walking around in them, and I want that to turn from blessing to curses. Just something else to think about when we see that image in our chapter.